Hello.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Γεια σου, Λέα.
Γεια σου, γεια σου. Κάτσε γιατί μου λέει ότι η κάμερά μου... Κάτι έχει χαμηλό low bandwidth η κάμερα.
Τι να κάνουμε, δεν θα βλέπουμε εσένα, το πρόγραμμα θα βλέπουμε.
Έλα ρε, γιατί να μην με βλέπετε.
Σε ξέρουμε. Δεν χρειάζεται να δούμε. Βάλε μια φωτογραφία σου.
Κάτσε άμα είναι Κάτσε να μοιράσω οθόνη. Μπας και... Ανοίξω και κανένα Google να δείξω. Τέλος πάντων, θα δούμε.
Να κάνω μια ερώτηση. Τα recordings πού θα τα έχεις μετά, πού θα μπορούμε να τα δούμε?
Όταν κάνω μάθημα με την Κλαούντια και πατάει να γίνει η βιντεοσκόπηση τέλος πάντων, μετά εμφανίζει στο κανάλι που κάνουμε το meeting ότι έχει σωθεί. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι δεν έχω κάνει ποτέ κλικ να δω τι έχει σωθεί.
Αυτό σώζεται. Πού σώζεται είναι το θέμα για να μπορούμε να τα ξαναβλέπουμε.
Κάπου γενικά, δεν νομίζω να σώζεται στον καθένα ή κάτι τέτοιο.
Ωραία, όταν τελειώσει θα πατήσω πάνω του και θα σου πω που...
Ναι, για δες.
Πού αποθηκεύεται.
Λοιπόν, 3, 6, 8, μαζί με μένα.
Ξεκινήσατε κιόλας, τι έχασα.
Τίποτα. Τις χαιρετούλες.
Κάνει τα πανωσηκώματα τώρα, κρίμα.
Εντάξει. 8 από τους 21 καλά είναι.
Να βάλουμε και την Άννα μέσα. Γιατί δεν την έβαλες. Άρα θα την κάνω πρόσκληση. Απλώς δεν ήταν ούτε ούτε στο group που έκανες, ούτε στο meeting.
Ναι, δεν περιμένει κάπου κάποιος σε κανένα λόμπι, φαντάζομαι.
Όχι, τώρα την κάνω...
Άννα.
Άννα Παγεργίου.
Θα τη βρω, είναι εξωτερική τέτοια. Πες το πάλι. Νομίζω ότι μπορείς και εσύ να την προσθέσεις.
Ναι, την κάνω. Απλώς είναι τουαλέτα τώρα.
Είναι μόνο ελληνικό το group.
Όχι. Αλλά η συνέπεια είναι ελληνική από ό,τι φαίνεται. Δεν ξέρω γιατί δεν έχει μπει κανένας ξανά.
Αλλά δεν ξέρω ότι θα μπουν όλοι, γιατί πολλοί μου είπανε στείλε μας και θα δούμε. Δηλαδή και η Βανέσα μου είπε θα δω κλπ.
Να ξέρετε ότι εγώ είμαι ιδιαίτερα αυστηρός με αυτά τα θέματα. Όποιος δεν μπαίνει για μάθημα...
Εμείς κρατάμε το group και όποιος μπαίνει, όποιος δεν μπαίνει. Όποιος θα συνεχίσει. Δεν πιστεύω δηλαδή ότι όλοι θα το χρησιμοποιήσουν το πρόγραμμα, γιατί όλοι θα το συνεχίσουν. Αλλά ας το έχουμε εμείς μέσα και βλέπουμε. Δηλαδή, εγώ πιστεύω δηλαδή όσο πηγαίνει με το χρόνο θα μικραίνει αυτό και κάποιοι θα το χρησιμοποιούν περισσότερο, κάποιοι θα ξαναγυρίσουν, αλλά τουλάχιστον ξέρεις, υπάρχει με ενημέρωση.
Hello Sarah. Οπότε μιλάμε αγγλικά. Λοιπόν, so let's start. So we are, first of all, I was thinking that this first part of today's class won't be, you won't need to see something or to remember something, because I am going to talk about a bit of Blender, a bit of me, and a bit of how to learn this program. Hello. And a kind of workflow we could use. Okay, you as an architect or interior designer with ArchiCAD, okay, and because the connection is not apparent, and so you don't need to have your cameras turned on. Just work, do something else, just hear me for a bit, and then I will share my screen already have, I will start demonstrating a bit of Blender. And again, I never ask anyone to remember anything for the first 2 weeks of the lessons. After that, you need to start working, practicing on your own. So as some of you probably have Blender on your PC, maybe Frank installed it. I know that in Greece we still don't have it. We will have it until next Monday, until the next class. Of course, you can download it at home. It's the version now is, you go to I have placed a link, blender.org. The current version is 4.2.3. I think you can see my screen, right? Yes, great, thank you, Sarah.
Yes,
So it says the freedom to create, of course, because it's totally free. It always was, and it always will be, because it's on a specific license that makes its code accessible to anyone who wants to download it. And that is it cannot be changed. So unless the Blender Foundation stops, doesn't have any other donations or runs out of money, Blender will be always free. And of course, with modeling and rendering programs, there is a threshold. The threshold is that with the rendering part, that if you reach photorealism, there is no point. There is point, just make it faster, make a render faster. But since you can make, like with this version, a photorealistic image, then you're done, you're finished. And modeling, currently Blender is the best modeler there is. It's the fastest program, the most intuitive, and the most user-friendly program in modeling. Now, so the current version is 4.2.3. It says LTS. That means that this version has been chosen to be sustainable for the future. The programmers of the Blender Foundation will keep working on it, but new versions, new branches will continue. The next version is 4.3, which will be ready on the 12th of the month, which has really nice features. Blender is next to Unreal Engine. These two are the most updated programs that exist right now. There are so many updates within a month and within a year that it's unrealistic to learn all the new updates and use them. But a lot of the times these updates are just, as someone can say, quality of life improvements. Little tweaks in the UI, user interface, and stuff like that make it a lot of sense, make a lot of sense to change the program, to make a new version. Also, Blender is famous for its community. That means that Blender has the most tutorials on YouTube. If you go to the Blender forums, you can ask anything and everyone will answer. You have the most libraries, the most material assets, whatever you can think of, and the most add-ons. And the add-ons in Blender are half of the program. When you download this Blender, sorry for talking a bit fast, but since it's a recording, you can go back and just hear it again. So when you download Blender, let's say this version, we call it in the Blender community Vanilla Edition. Every program that doesn't have an external add-on to it, or you place something or that you have to it, it's called Vanilla Edition. Okay, like the beta editions and the alpha editions, it has a specific name. So The add-ons for Blender, and it's a big part of it. That's why I keep talking about it. The add-ons for Blender are just a way to make vanilla Blender a bit enhanced and a bit faster in some aspects. There are a lot of architectural add-ons, but you can do everything with vanilla Blender. It just makes sense to spend some money. I have spent, well, a lot of money, but they are really cheap. You can find an add-on like €5 or something, or €10 that makes your life a lot easier, a lot easier. Of course, there are some big libraries with trees and cars and whatever that cost €100. Okay, so the 3 years I've been working on Blender just to have in mind, but this is my job, right? I have spent at least €2,000 on add-ons, but I have lesser work hours. I work a lot faster, and I'm to the point that I really like working with Blender. So that was the first part for Blender. Now, for me, I have been doing this work 20 years now. I have started in 2003 with 3ds Max and V-Ray, and up until I met Blender, life was not so easy. Compared to Blender, right now, 3ds Max is like a dinosaur. It's so hard to make anything that really, before I met Blender, I was thinking about giving up. It was so bad of a user experience, and the updates. I remember waiting for updates every 3 months for Max, and the updates were nothing. Nothing new, just, I guess, Autodesk wanted to sell something. Anyway, the reason I learned Blender was mainly to get to be in Monoplan, because I knew that if I say that, look, for me to work, I need a program that costs €500 each month to use, and of course V-Ray, which costs 200 more, and blah blah blah. It was not going to work. So I searched and I found Blender. And of course, the first, as you will feel like I felt 3 years ago when I opened it, I had the 3ds Max software in my mind. Okay, I was thinking what I can make like 3ds Max in Blender, and that is totally wrong. Blender is made from different people with a different way of thinking, and I'm really happy they have that different way of thinking. And like you will see it, like modeling in ArchiCAD is, of course, not going to work in Blender. Okay, it has its own way of thinking. You must approach it like it's a different language, and you must try to become fluent in it. If you start learning the language of Blender, then making something would be so easy as speaking. If anyone of you has seen me work while we are in a meeting in Blender, you will understand what I am saying. And the main reason that Blender can do this is because Blender uses a lot of shortcuts. If you learn the shortcuts, you can speak to Blender, and things will happen like you are viewing a video on YouTube. So you must give yourself at least 2 months for your brain to adapt, and I'm really serious about this. It will be 2 months of frustration. You won't want to see the program, but you must force yourself to open Blender for at least 1 hour a day, even if you are just going to look at it. It does not matter. You must at least open the program for 1 hour a day and you will wake up one morning after 2 months and everything will look easier. If you don't believe me, ask Claudia. Okay, she's been through it. And in the first month, I always told her in each lesson we had, don't get angry, don't be frustrated. It will come, it will end. After 1 month only, she began to understand the language and how we build stuff in Blender. So, of course, Blender is not only modeling. The reason when they made Blender, they wanted the guy who made Blender is Ton Rosenthal. He's a Dutch guy who was something in finance, and he just started to like programming. And he saw that there is he was the founder of the company called Neo Geo, for anyone who plays video games and is at my age anyway. And at first it wasn't, it was for sale, but then he saw the potential of free open software to be the future. And so he kept it, he changed the license, the creator's license. And from he started in 98, I think, creating it, and after 2005, it became free for everyone. The major update in Blender, the one that started everyone to want to learn it, came at the version 2.8, which was exactly, almost exactly 3 years ago. I was very lucky to start learning Blender at that version. It's not really different in UI from the version you are going to download, but the Ton Rosenthal thought, and correctly thought, something that I think ArchiCAD hasn't thought about it, or 3ds Max or AutoCAD, to have a UI team. Okay, a team that listens to the users and change the UI according to what's popular and what they want to see. So 2.79 to 2.8 versions are really different. And everyone started learning Blender, and the community grew. And now we have a Blender that matches all other software. The reason that the big studios, the big VFX studios, don't use Blender is because the license is open. And that's why it's not more popular, let's say, because Autodesk sells the code to specific companies, and they build on that code, and they make a special program for their needs. But if you take the core of Blender and start building on it, you cannot call it your own because the license is free. So that's why the big VFX studios don't use it so much. They have started because it's free. And once you start learning, and if some of you have made a bit of research of Blender and its renderers and its abilities, you will be really surprised that this program is free, because the pipeline is the project workflow. Blender can make everything, from static renders to full movie animations. And that's the purpose it's built on. It has different sections: modeling, materials, rendering, animation, and composition at the end. So anyone, even from the poorest parts of the planet to the most rich parts, can download it and start learning on the spot. So this is it about Blender and me. So I must insist on having the 2-month period at the back of your brain, and don't feel like you don't understand it, because you won't understand it for the first 2 months. It's not possible for your brain to adapt so quickly to a different language and then start creating. Okay, and don't use the workflow you already know from another software. And now the connection part with ArchiCAD or with another program. I am guessing that 99% of us will want to do architectural renderings, which 99% again of the time are static renderings, because animation takes a lot of time to render, and we are used to make changes at the last minute, so you cannot render again the whole sequence of the video, so it's not an option. That's why in the last project, the ICPO project, I used a different program, the Unreal Engine program, because it's a real-time renderer. It's a program specifically used to create video games that they run on 60 frames per second, so it needs to render at 60 frames per second. So that's 20. That's 1 second divided by 60. So it's really, really fast. But it's a big problem. That software, it's full of bugs. You must be a programmer to make it work, or you must spend a lot of time searching on Google to figure out problems, which I have, unfortunately. And the photorealism it's not so good on the real-time thing as is with Blender. Blender has a render engine called Cycles. Most of you will know a render engine called V-Ray because it's really prominent in architectural workflow, and Corona. Blender's cycle doesn't have anything it doesn't miss anything from these marketed renderers. I used V-Ray, and for 17 years of working with V-Ray, I never had the emotion when I saw a render of mine that it was good enough. And it was weird because I have spent countless of hours working on technical stuff and the literature on light and surfaces and all the details, every button, and the image that V-Ray produced, where something was always wrong. And after 17 years, I thought, well, maybe there's something I haven't learned, or I don't know. And then I made my first render in Blender, and I felt it was what it should be. And it was weird because it was my first render. I didn't know everything about the program. After that, a couple of months after that, an article came out that V-Ray had fundamental problems in its code, and it didn't. It's a biased render. Each renderer we have has to make a formula, the light formula, and for each pixel, and have an output. Okay, and 17 years ago or 10 years ago, the graphics card were not so fast. So the renderers that were created on that era were biased. They cut parts of the formula to make the renderings faster. Fortunately, when they created Cycles, they had a biased version and an unbiased version. It's just a setting within the program. And for my luck, I didn't use that setting to be biased, and the render came out perfect. Perfect. Well, it came out the way I always liked it. So unfortunately, a lot of people are stuck in the 3ds Max or Maya or Cinema 4D workflow with V-Ray because Autodesk promotes its softwares in the universities. and people keep paying a lot of money for no reason, and their life becomes a lot harder than it should be. So the Blender is a one-way street, and try to have an open mind around it at the beginning. Now, what is 2:53? Okay, so enough talk about that. What you are going to see is Blender, my Blender, and it's not the vanilla Blender by any way, because I like, once you start learning a software, you actually learn the way that your first tutorial shows you. Okay. And you see the way he or she does it, and you change your software the way you see it. And after that, you see another tutorial, you see something better, you like parts of it, and you start changing the UI the way you want it. Because I have so many years in this profession, I have a bit of a different tools that you are going to have, and I have placed a lot of more shortcuts than you are going to have with a vanilla Blender. But I will be showing how to make everything with the current shortcuts. So don't worry about it. Now, this is the UI, the user interface of Blender as I have made it. Okay, this you can create any panel you want. You can divide the space any way you want. Because I have a big screen, I don't mind dividing it in these four, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels or panes. They call them panes, whatever. And so I don't encourage you do whatever you want. I just want to have on my left side a list of my items, on the center my viewport, of course, and on my right a little panel with my material. In the middle panel is for UV unwrapping. You will learn what that is. UV unwrapping my model. And the bottom panel is just my properties of the whole program. And there are a lot of there are less buttons that 3ds Max has, which is nice. But everything you see, you will use. Believe me, everything does something very important, and that's really good, because in 3ds Max or in ArchiCAD probably you have many buttons that either don't do nothing because you must have a certain condition before they can be used, or they're just there for some other person and not you. You are not going to do that workflow anyway. So. And there is a small strip, this here, with my add-ons and other panels that are really important. Now, as I said before, Blender is structured for the user, and you can modify it any way you want. From the simple color schemes you can use to the placement of the panels to specific add-ons you want, to specific different, let's say, scenes inside the same file. And everything is changed from the preferences, file, edit, preferences. And this place is good to know because it has all of Blender inside it, and you can change anything. You can create custom shortcuts, the way you work will be the UI will be the way you work. So the connection between ArchiCAD and Blender. The way I use Blender in connection with you is that you give me a floor plan and sections, and I place the floor plan inside of ArchiCAD, and I trace the walls with a polygon, and I divide it, and I extrude it, and it creates the walls, and I go from there. You can also, of course, create, import. Sorry, for anyone just hearing up till now, this is a good time to turn your focus to the shared screen I have. So open recent, a project that I'm working now with you see the panels are different now. That's at this stage of the project. This is what is better for me. Or instead of importing a floor plan, which you have to export from AutoCAD as a DWG or if DVG for some, and you must turn it to DXF inside AutoCAD and clear it up, because ArchiCAD saves a lot of stuff that you don't need. Okay, that become a lot of small lines that it's not useful. And either you can import a floor plan or you can import the model from ArchiCAD. You go to a 3D viewport in ArchiCAD and click Save as .d AE die, and I will show you the model of ArchiCAD. I will hide this one, this model, and these things, and I will show you the ArchiCAD model, whatever is left of it anyway, not much, because I took the walls and stuff and I changed them a bit to the needs of Blender. The problem with this workflow is that the objects that are coming in don't have the greatest of geometry. The way it's subdivided from ArchiCAD to Blender is not really useful. But I try to fix it. Believe me, starting it from the start is much faster and easier, and it has the added advantage that you learn the project better as you move through it. And another problem with ArchiCAD is that a lot of times I see a bit of not great geometry in the sense that the snapping points are off a bit, and you really can't have that in Blender, because if the model we're talking about is walls, floor, and a ceiling, if the geometry doesn't close well enough, you might have something we call light leaks. Light passing through the small gap left from the untouched geometry, even if that is 1/10 of a millimeter. So the best thing is to, well, at least for me, the best thing is to import the floor plan and start building from there. This workflow has the disadvantage that you can't go backwards. What I mean is that you can create a building in Blender. Of course, you can import it in ArchiCAD back, but then in ArchiCAD, I don't know what you can do with that geometry, except if you have a project that the ICPO clinic that needed a more a facade that had a more organic structure, and I've heard that it would be difficult to create it in ArchiCAD from the start. Then, okay, you can create the model in Blender, go backwards to ArchiCAD for any need you might have. So what I'm talking about is this kind of structure. And look, this facade is a bit easy. Okay, the first one we made was a lot more, wacky. It was a lot more difficult. At least the way we made this is that it has some modules, some parts that show up in different areas. And the first one I made was everything was different. Anyway, so this project, one great thing about Blender is this project must be about 1 billion polygons, and it has really no problem. Well, it also, because I have a really good graphics card, which you don't really need in the modeling stage. But in the rendering stage, look, I'm going to try something and hope it doesn't crashes for the whole team's meeting. And you're starting in Blender, you don't need a really good graphics card. But afterwards, if you want to render something, oh, it's nighttime. Wait, if you want to render something, you are going to need a better graphics card, because it's not nice to wait the render, and of course waiting for the render is time and money lost. Do I have the? I don't think I have the. I have the interior lights open. Anyway, this is real-time rendering, by the way. So you don't need to render and see what went wrong with your materials or your lighting or whatever. Let me, now you see at the left, my list of stuff is really, you don't even see half of it right now. And everything is named, so I can find it, and everything is in catalogs and whatever, in collections. We call it collections. So it helps to be, very specific with the things you make. It makes your life a lot easier. Now, I don't think it will work, but anyway. Now, the way you are probably going to use it is, for the first part, to make a model inside Blender and place it in ArchiCAD. The really good thing about this is that the model would be not hard in ArchiCAD. You won't. I'm sorry. As an example, we had for one project, I was asked to maybe make a sink for a bathroom for a hotel that has a lot of rooms. I don't remember who it was, they found a sink that had thousands of polygons, okay? And they just wanted in ArchiCAD a sink to be at all the rooms. And that made ArchiCAD crash, okay? So I imported the sink, the bathroom sink, in Blender. I cleared its polygons, and then I sent it back, and everything was fine. Probably it went from like 20,000 faces, 20,000 polygons to like 1,000. So that is another way of thinking about the workflow. And in a backwards step, okay? But mostly you will finish, let's say finish. Design freeze, a term that I heard recently, the last 2 months anyway. Design freeze your project and then start in Blender and maybe have 1 week, let's say, if you are lucky, to make it. Okay, but it's doable. It's doable, and make some renderings. The client can decide, and then you go back to make the revisions in ArchiCAD, and then of course make the revisions in Blender. But making revisions in Blender is really fast. Is even faster, of course, than creating everything from the start. But the only thing that maybe is not so fast is making a furniture from the start again. Maybe the client likes a specific chair that he likes to use in his rooms, and making from the start depends on the way you understand Blender. That's the only, you can make a chair in 4 hours. Maximum. Okay, it's maybe the weirdest chair. I don't know. Maybe like the ICPO. At some point, we made a custom chair, and that took some time. Anyway. Let's enough said. Let's demonstrate. Okay, let me close Blender. This Blender, and I would like for someone to find something that is in front of him or her and show it to the camera, and I will make it. Whatever it is, random stuff, doesn't matter. And that's easy. A lemon, okay, no problem. You want me to make a lemon, no problem. That's easy. A glass, that's okay. Everything is easy, don't worry. So I'll make a lemon and a glass. Let me drink some coffee. Now, both of these objects will use a technique called subdivision modeling. That means that it's really hard to move polygons around because their surfaces are smooth and curved. So we make an approximate model of this surface, and then we apply a subdivision modifier, and it makes everything smooth and great. Now, also, I have placed an add-on in my Blender for you, and that add-on shows on my bottom left corner what I click and do. So if you miss, I will of course say what I am doing with the buttons I am pressing at the same time. But if someone misses something or I miss something, and again, it's great to have a video on the lesson, you can watch on the bottom left corner of your screen what I pressed. And look, this is the amazing part of Blender. I needed something, the community has made it, it was free, and I just click on the add-ons list, and you have it now. It's the thing I told you, that the quality of life thing. So let's start with the lemon. It's a bit easier. So you must first think of, again, you don't need to remember any of this. Just look at it as a movie. You need to first decide what kind of shape the thing you want can be put in. So maybe let's start with a let's start with a sphere. So Shift A to open up the shortcut. Shift A to open up the panels, the creation panel. It says add on the top. And you have a lot of stuff here that you are going to use. And we go to the mesh section and we go to the UV sphere. Okay, and we have this beautiful thing. And we rotate it, we press R to rotate it on the X-axis by 90. We write 90 degrees, enter. And for some reason, my Blender, it lags a bit. I don't know what happened. I saw the new version, the second version, just 2 days ago, and it makes this thing. But anyway, we are going to push through it. So this is going to be our lemon. And actually, you know what? It has too many polygons. We don't need all these polygons. So let's go again, Shift A, create mesh, UV sphere. And each time you create something on your bottom left viewport corner, 3D viewport corner, it shows you stuff. And this is, I'm going to click on the panel for the creation of the sphere. So let's put less polygons, 12 by 12, maybe less or even 6. Okay. And another great thing about Blender is when you type a command, it shows you at the bottom your options. So you don't, if you forget something, just look at the bottom, it says everything. So let's say I want to move this vertex. So I press the shortcut, the keyboard shortcut G. I know that there is going to be a bit of a language problem. So G next to F, and I unfortunately, some of you have different keyboards, but anyway, you can see what key I pressed at the bottom left. G, and so G is for grab. You grab something and you want to move it. So you see underneath it says a lot of stuff. And what it says, let's look at the bottom of the, doesn't let me to show you with my mouse anyway. It says on the bottom left corner, starting confirm, cancel, X, Y, Z axis. The arrow showing up is shift. Some of you may have this icon on your keyboard. Shift X, Shift Y, Shift Z, plane, it says. B sets snap base, blah, 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 blah. And that, what it says means that if I left click, it confirms what I want to do. If I left click, the vertex stays there. I confirmed what I wanted to do. Let's go again. G for grab. Right click, it says cancel. In Blender, a lot of times if you are in a command, right click means cancel. So right click, cancel. Let's go again. G for grab. X, Y, Z. This means that please select an axis you would like to move to. Let's press Z. A blue line appears at the Z axis, locking the movement of the vertex. If I want, I can change, of course, I can press Y for the green axis, the Y axis, or I can press, let's go a bit next, Shift and X. That means that I want, no, let's do Shift and Z. I don't want to move on the Z axis. Shift and Z means I don't want to move on the Z axis. So I am now moving on a level with the floor. And I know I definitely know that wherever I am and however I look at my model. Of course, Shift and X will move my vertex, will move whatever, my object on the Z and the Y axis, not on the X axis. So, and B, this is the final thing I will say about grab or move, let's say. B is select a snapping point from here, this little square, it appeared is the snap, of course, from here to here. Now, this thing wasn't available 6 months ago. And for AutoCAD users and ArchiCAD users, I mean, I must have lost half of my hair on this stuff, not having a snapping point. But everyone asked for it, and Blender made it. So G for grab, B, I want from here to be moved. Okay, of course, Control Z is undo. And I'm thinking now of having a list on the chat with most prominent shortcuts. So because let's say Control Shift and Z is redo, Control Z is undo, Control Shift and Z do not Control Y as some program. So let's go back to our lemon. I want to rotate my sphere 90 degrees, and because in my mind the lemon is, you will understand, this part I will move it a bit here, and this part I will to the y-axis G, to the y-axis a bit here. Of course, right now it's a perfect lemon, but anyway, we will make it a bit a bit, not so good. And what you need to have in mind is wherever you need more detail, you must place more edges. You must place more vertices. So I don't need a lot of detail on the main body of my lemon, but I need more detail on the nose or the back of my lemon, let's say. So I will create a loop. I will create an edge around these triangles now, so I can move its points and create more detail. I will, for this case right now, but not always, I will use the command knife, the knife tool, which is by pressing the shortcut K. I click somewhere. I need to press it. It's all written at the bottom. I need to press C, so my cut is through. It cuts through, and I will press A, so my cut is horizontal. And now I'll press space to enter the command. Of course, making my cut horizontal in an organic shape like a lemon doesn't make a lot of sense, but we will make it worse later. So now let's look at what we have now. As I told you, the way this organic shape, the lemon, is using the subdivision modifier workflow, and I will apply a modifier on my model, the subdivision modifier, whatever, and it will smooth out the surface of my lemon. So subdivision surface, and for now we have this thing. It starts to look like something like a lemon could be. I will up my subdivisions, and as I turn more subdivisions, you can see that it becomes smoother, but this has a bit of a problem, because what you are seeing now is the optimal display of the subdivision modifier, not the real polygons, because you might count squares right now, but these are not the squares that exist in reality. If I turn off the optimal display, click, these are the polygons of the object. Okay, and so in order to, you are going to, half of the time of the model, you are going to use this workflow, subdivision workflow, modifier workflow. And I can continue, of course, to change my shape. Let's say I will go to, if you press the tilde key, the tilde key is the key above tab. I am pressing it right now, so you can see at bottom left what this key is. So Blender is really nice at moving around. This is half of the reason why it's good in modeling. If I press the tilde key, a clock-like whatever panel appears, and if I move my mouse to a direction that it says top or right or back, I can go to that viewport. Now, because time has passed since I pressed the tilde key and I didn't move my mouse, it stays there and I need to click to go. But if I start moving my mouse and I press the tilde key and my cursor goes through the option, I don't have to click it. And it's so fast to change viewport, the way you look at the viewport, that it becomes intuitive. You know, I want to look at it from the top, I move my mouse from the top, and this happens. So let's try to, I will subdivide a bit more my lemon. I will right click, I will select all its polygon, right click, subdivide. Another thing you might see is that next to each command, it has the shortcut key. So if you don't remember it, just look at what's written on the right. So I subdivided a bit more, maybe for no reason. I don't like it. Maybe I could show you this thing. There is another way of modeling a bit. This is, if you go up here, this is a proportional editing modeling tool that if I go move, you see it's not very clear, but a circle has appeared around my cursor. And if I move this point, others will follow. And you see this might be a way that we could start the lemon. Okay, let's go back. Also another good thing, Blender can be made to have as many undos as you want. I currently have it at 60 undos. So with no problem. And by default, Blender saves every 2 minutes. The files are really small because it has compression. You might have not seen it or felt it, but I have saved a lot of times now. Not me, Blender saved it. So almost nothing gets lost with it. So we have the proportional editing, G for move, Y, and you can see that the rest of the shape follows. Maybe I could do a better nose or for the lemon. And now, specifically for foods, most of the modeling part is not really necessary because you mostly need textures to show the model. Really, I could just leave it like this and it would be fine. Because lemon, you don't zoom in to lemons. You must think of what to do. I have 4 minutes. Okay. You must think of, and as you can imagine, I can talk about this stuff for hours. You must, before you make something, you must think of how far away you are going to look at it. And because you can't make thousands of polygons for each item in your scene, because your scene will crash eventually or be unresponsive. So delete, Shift A, a cylinder, let's go that. I have pressed Tab to go on edit mode. Let's do this, delete this face. Try some more polygon here. Great, no, I don't like it. Shift scale to the Z axis, maybe here. Control A to reset the scale. And it's not, I will use proportional editing for this thing. Let's select this. let's, where is it? Where is it? Oh, I haven't. So I will move this vertex towards the inside here. I will move this vertex towards the inside here. Again, here. And again, here I will place a solidify modifier that gives width to my model. I will make it a bit like this. Okay, and I will create a loop here because I know what's going to happen in a bit, and another loop here. I will create a, I think I created a random loop. No, it's fine. So I will do an inset on this face, and I will apply a solidify modifier, and my glass is ready. Let's render it. And I want the scene here, and of course it can be a lot better if you give it more time. Okay, if you want to, you can try to make it. I will, as you see it, you can measure it. If it's easy, I will open my asset browser with assets I have made. I will go to the user library, which I have named. I will take this window glass and I will place it on the object, and the world opacity is here. No, I'm in the countryside right now. I will select a room. Oh no, oh, there's a dog. I will select, where is the room? The hotel room, and my glass is frosted because I must change something here. Yeah, roughness, bye-bye. And this is my glass in under 1 minute. And of course, you can continue to make it better 1 minute before the end. If you want, you can stay. I have no problem, and ask some questions. And that's it for today's lesson. The Sarah keyboard. Yeah, I know. Ask Claudia, where is the tilde key on the German? Yeah, that's the tilde key. So, any questions, please?
Ilya, I hope I have the same relationship that you have with Blender with the people. It's so passionate.
It changed my life. I became happy again to work after I met Blender, because 3ds Max was a nightmare. And I was thinking of changing careers, really, before I came to Monoplan and go to work in a factory or something like that, because it was unbearable. 3ds Max is, you can't make anything. Anyway. Yeah, I'm talking to 3ds Max like it was an ex of mine. Yeah.
No burnouts then.
No, you want to work in Blender. It's amazing. And maybe you are going to have a big of a problem because you won't like to see ArchiCAD again or model in ArchiCAD after a while. Anyway, any questions, please raise your hand or something.
A lot of questions, but I think it's too early to ask. I don't know.
If you want, you can type them. If something you feel you need to ask, especially when you start making stuff or don't remember where something is, there's no problem. Just write in the chat. Maybe it will help someone else. And FYI, for your information, this is not the first time I am doing this. Over the years, I have had many students. I have probably 22, 23 students by now. And
because you're really good at it. That's why. Did you do it yourself? That's what I was thinking about.
And I'm really happy to answer at any time of the day, to answer questions about this. So thank you for being here. The 4x4, 16 or more people came. That's great. And hope to see you on the next class on Monday. I hope you download Blender or your personal computers and start playing with it. Again, don't be frustrated. I will start also putting some tutorials on the chat for you to see, maybe on your way to work or after work or whatever, or as a break from the work. And have patience, give it time, and it will be probably the best thing you have done in a long time. And see it as it's an amazing tool because you will make the ideas take shape and form, and you can present it to someone in a really realistic way. Anyway, that's all for me. I must stop now speaking. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Elias.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much,
Bye-bye.
Elias.
Bye.
Talk to
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.